Hello, story lovers. I am Matt Hernandez, and this is Let's Chat Books. Now, today we're going to talk about Carol Shields' short story, Various Miracles, which is also found in the collection called Various Miracles. It seems that, well, to my knowledge, her three short story collections are named after the first story in each of those three collections. I do not know if she has more short story collections than that. I'm just trying to learn how to make these videos fast enough to keep producing more content and that kind of thing at the moment, so I apologize. But I guess I'm caught up in that minutia or something, or desire to make content fast enough like everybody else. But I was so grateful to read this story right after the last story I had read, because after Chinua Achebe's Civil Peace, I got this from this anthology here, I think from college, I think. But when reading this, Carol Shields collected stories, Various Miracles is about a series of coincidences. Not much different than Alanis Morissette's Ironic. Is it ironic, or are those all just a set of coincidences? Like rain on your wedding day, right? So here, as I go through some of these various coincidences, or various miracles as she would call them, 7 women in line, all having the name Emily. 4 strangers reading the same book. A man having one dream, but then his wife having a dream that kind of complements his at the same time. 2 different parrots, twin parrots, split apart, as you'd imagine parrots are, being sold to different people. They both die on the same day. Somebody's water cooler painting. Then a small tale about the person who painted it. But then it all sort of culminates to this. On this edition of the book, I'm going to read this here on page 27. Well, it kind of starts before that, but I think it's sufficient if I read from about the top of this page down to the bottom. As she stood waiting for her bus on the corner of College and Spadina, that fall day, a gust of wind tore apart the manuscript from her hands. In seconds, the yellow typed sheets were tossed into a whirling dance across the busy intersection. Traffic became confused. A bus skittered on an angle. Passerby were surprisingly helpful, stopping and chasing the blowing papers. Several sheets were picked up from the gutter, where they lay on a heap of soaked yellow leaves. On one sheet was found plastered against the windshield of a parked Pontiac half a block away. Another adhered to the top of a lamppost. Another was run over by a taxi and bore the black herringbone of tire prints. From all directions, ducking the wind, people came running up to Camilla, bringing her the scattered pages. "Oh, this is crazy. This is crazy," she cried into the screaming wind. When she got to the publisher's office, she took one look at her manuscript and said, "Good God Almighty, don't tell me, Camilla, that you of all people have become a postmodernist and no longer believe in the logic of page numbers." So Camilla explained about her blast of wind, and then the two of them began to put the pages in their proper order. Astonishingly, only one page was missing. It was a page Camilla insisted was pivotal, a keystone page, the page that explained everything else. She would have to try to reconstruct it the best she could. The publisher said. This was late in the afternoon of the same day, and sat in the office sipping tea. "I truly believe, Camilla, that your novel stands up without the missing page. Sometimes it's better to let things be strange and to represent nothing but themselves." Now, in the following page, I don't think I should read it. Maybe I've read enough, but they sort of tell us what happened to this page and who got it. And interestingly enough, the way Camila describes a character within her book, somebody who picks up the page receives it and it looks just like what she is wearing, which is quite remarkable. But interestingly enough, this book it's wonderful. This page, this story describes me oddly enough because I did not do this coincidentally. I have an idea about trying to bounce between books to go keep it original, right? If I make one video per book here, or one video per short story here, and I do this with these other anthologies, I do this with essays on fatherhood, as I've been doing. But then when I read Chinua Achebe's, when I read his story, Civil Peace, what is quite remarkable is how he defines miracle. He says nothing puzzles God when there's a wonderful coincidence, but the miracles are the 5 heads that are still alive. So it is so fascinating because what has just happened to me to look at 2 different books with very different definitions of miracles, it is quite a miracle. Because when discussing Chinua Achebe's story, Civil Peace, I said in ways I did not understand the story because it is set inside of a specific time in a specific place with a specific history. And no matter how much I try, which I don't really want to try in a sense, but no matter how much I try, I cannot fully grasp that. But oddly enough, I come to a better understanding of that story through this story because of their very different use of the term miracles. And it'd be very fascinating to see them having discussed each other's story and to see how they would have maybe critiqued the use of the word miracles in both of these, which I think is quite fascinating. Because, an extreme coincidence is just that. We would not see this last extreme coincidence with Camila Laporta, a Cuban-born writer, now a Canadian citizen, of course Canadian. Carol Shields is Canadian. I think a lot of these characters are Canadian. But then we wouldn't see that until the ending there. But interestingly for me, it makes yet another connection. To see 2 different stories, nothing alike, using the words miracle so very differently. And I'm quite grateful for it because then it gives me something else wonderful to say about Chinua Achebe's story, Civil Peace. And I'm quite grateful for that. I think if I continue on from here, I think that I'll end up just repeating myself over and over again. So I think that you should read this story. You should read Various Miracles by Carol Shields. It's a short, very short story. What is this? 5-ish pages. And then the same thing with Chinua Achebe's Civil Peace. You should read both of these, and it would make for an interesting comparison for you as well. Actually, I don't know how long these stories are because with this book here, the story and its writer, whenever I've been listening to the audio version of some of these on YouTube, in fact, they take like 15 minutes to read. So, how compact are some of these words, I guess? I don't know. Is this like legal print? But I think I've gone on long enough. So both are wonderful stories, and you should read them both, like yesterday. Okay, see you later, and have a wonderful day.